Welcome to Machine Tool Maniacs, the podcast where machining, fabrication, entrepreneurship, and bringing ideas to life collide. Around here, every story is a success story. I'm Matt, a second-generation manufacturer who's been in the shop since I was in diapers, learning the tools, the trade, and the people behind it all. Nearly everything in our daily lives is passed through a CNC machine. And we're here to spotlight the makers turning raw material into reality. Whether you're dreaming big or building bigger, this is your inside track to making it happen. Welcome back to the podcast. I have Will Mund with me again today, and this episode is going to be our 2025 wrap-up episode. Tell everybody hi, Will.
Hi, everybody. Sorry. Got Dr. Nick in my head today.
No, that's fine. Actually, I was just kind of reflecting back on this past year. And I know that you and I have briefly met, but we really only met this year, like officially kind of met each other back in March when we did that.
When we
That,
were helping with the Skills USA program.
yeah.
When we were you were a kind of a machinist, operator, judge kind of thing. I started out as gonna be that, and then I ended up being the technical support on making sure that machines were gonna run the programs and do what they needed to do. So it worked out. It was fun.
Well, you had to help me quite a bit because I'm sitting there judging people on Haas machines, and I ran Haas machines like 20 years ago, so it's been a while for me.
Yeah. And that was the funniest part about it is that Travis, he got me pulled in there, and originally I was supposed to be a judge on it, and then like the morning of, he's like, "Hey, some of our guys haven't worked on houses in a while, and they might have some questions. Would you be all right being kind of the tech support guy?" And I said, "Absolutely. I'm good at that stuff."
Yeah, you were a lifesaver for me, that's for sure.
Not to be too what's the word, cliche or stereotypical, but it's nice at the end of the year to kind of do a wrap up and kind of review and see, you know, think about things that you've done well, things that maybe you want to improve on or change in the coming year. And you know, I think for me, uh, it's also a time for me to go, ah, holy crap. Because it feels like 2025 feels like somebody's had their foot on the gas pedal the whole year. I am absolutely astounded. We're right here at New Year's, and 2026 is just a few days away.
A
I mean,
lot of
what all
stuff
have you
happened.
had happen this year?
I I left a job, went back to a job. I started, this podcast, this whole mission of this podcast, and my social media activity, we'll say. I've had my social media accounts for a while now, but I really ramped up the activity in my social media and really started focusing on my social media presence, mostly to market for this podcast, because this podcast is my ultimate mission. And the mission I have in the formation of this podcast is just to give creators or people out there that have machine shops the tools and the stories to just get through the day, to maybe start that shop or keep pushing if they're struggling in their businesses, or even if it's a shop who's made it. It's fun to listen to other stories about how other shop owners have made it and some of the tools that they've used to survive, whether it's how they found work or whether they utilized Xometry or marketed on TikTok, or so there's been a lot of really cool stories so far this year, and I look forward to many more.
The thing that I've loved about these stories is it shows just how diverse our industry really is. and how people have got here and come into it and learned about machining and manufacturing. You got can't remember his name, but a couple weeks ago, the guy was in the army and had never done anything like machining, and then he got out and he's like, okay, I got to find something that I can do, and he dove headlong into it, and now he's like got his own company down in Arizona. Fast forward 10, 12 years, he's got his own company in Arizona and doing all kinds of really high-end cool stuff and engineering. And then you've got other guys that started out doing horseshoeing as a farrier, and now
Yeah.
he's got a machine shop making tools and things like that for farriers. And it's just like this is one of the things I like is you get a lot of people that are creative and they've got their own ideas and how they want to do stuff. And most of them are kind of like you and me. We just kind of dive headlong into this thing and run with it. And it's cool to see and hear. And I feel like even though I haven't met some of these people after hearing their stories and everything, I kind of feel like they're friends, at the end of
Yeah,
it.
it certainly seems that way. And that's what I love about this industry is just like I say in the intro, like nothing in our daily lives one way or another hasn't been touched by a CNC machine. Whether it's the equipment that processed it had to be made on a CNC machine.
Yep.
So that's what I love about this industry is that it just runs deep. And a lot of folks out there don't even realize how deep it runs, how crucial it is to our daily lives. So how about for you? Tell us about what Greenlight has done this year. And
It's been a ride. I've finally been able to get some help on the administrative side of my business because I struggle with paperwork. That's
yeah,
that's not my strong suit. And any of my customers that are listening, I know I'm sorry. I will get it taken care of. Um, but really, my wife has been a trooper and has been helping me work stuff out and get things figured out. I've done more business this year than I did last year, which is nice, but also it's showing me where my weak points are and where I need to get better at some things. Um, I'm I've had this crazy idea rolling around in my head for the last few months, and as we've got to the end of this year, it's like, yeah, this seems like a thing that I want to do. And what that crazy idea is I'm doing the machine repair, and I've got a couple of lines of new machines that I can sell to people if they are in that need. But I really want to start getting into like refurbishing machines
hmm
and like being able to buy, an old Haas if it's mechanically sound, fix it up a bit more or fix it up a bit, uh, upgrade to a different control system because a lot of the old Haases you can't get the controls, that kind of thing. But try and breathe some new life into some of these old machines because part of it, if I don't know how closely you or any of the listeners are following, what's going on in the world and politics and different stuff like that, but between tariffs and then, if China decides they want to start getting frisky with stuff, last time I looked, it's like 70 to 80% of the commodity machine tools that we bring into the US for, most general job shop stuff, they're coming out of Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan and like the
hmm
South Asian or the Southeast Asian area. And it's like if China pops off, we're going to have a heck of a time getting some of those machines over here. And so it's like, might as well take some of the iron that we've got here and breathe some new life into it.
Well, a lot of that too, the electronics change and the
Yep.
servos and the speeds but the iron itself
Doesn't change
doesn't
that much.
doesn't really change a lot. I mean, you do have designs, especially with multifunction machines and five-axis machines
Yes.
where the designs are evolving, but your basic C-frame three-axis vertical mills and even horizontal machines and big double columns and gantry machines, the basic structure of those machines aren't really changing.
No, they haven't changed much in the last 30, 40 years. And you're right, it's the electronics that are always the killer on these machines. You know, when they go bad, but great example, the old Haas machines. So up until like 2002, Haas, their controls used what's called a 68K processor. And that was made by Motorola. And at the time when Haas switched over to a different processor on their board, Motorola hadn't built the 68K processor in a couple of years. They were running Haas was building boards off of old stock.
Mhm.
So fast forward to now, you got say a year 2000 Haas machine, and mechanically it's still good, but the processor in it hasn't been built in 30 years.
Oh, okay.
And so it's like, what do you do? Well, change to the new control or change to a new control. So you
Hmm.
got USB, Ethernet, better high-speed machining algorithms. Anyway, sorry, I digress a little bit, but you're right. The electronics is really the thing that seems to get outdated the quickest on the machines and is the hardest to maintain over time.
You mentioned, and you've really opened my eyes to this over, just since we've been interacting this year, that you want to pick up some new lines. And I know you and I have had personal conversations about you reaching out to machine tool companies that don't have as great of a presence in our area. We've discussed a lot about you reaching out to these machine tool builders and trying to get them to train you so when they sell a machine in the area, you can be there to support it. And you've really opened my mind. And I really think that is the way of the future for a lot of these scrappy, smaller machine tool builders that don't have as big of a distribution model as, say, your DMG Mori, your Haas, your Akuma, your DN Solutions, right? A lot of those
Yep.
bigger machine tool brands outcompete everybody because their support is so much better.
Yep. And sales may sell the first machine, but service sells all the rest. And I
Exactly.
don't even know how much sales actually sells the first machine. Because when I was trying to sell Hercos, nothing against salesmen. I mean, there are some phenomenal sales engineers in our industry. And after having tried my hand as a full-time sales guy for Herco, I came away with a lot higher appreciation for how hard of a job machine tool sales really is and can be.
Hmm.
Um, because I knew a lot of people, had great relationships with them. I worked on their machines, but when it came to buying a new machine, um, very first question they would ask me about it is who's going to work on it? If I buy this from you, who is working on it?
Hmm.
And I told him, I said, I have a guy, he's got training, and we can do it. We can service the machines and whatnot. And even then, knowing who it was that was going to be working on them, they were still hesitant to step outside of what they knew, even though they were more than happy to share the problems that they had with the different machine dealers that they've worked with and for different machines. They it kind of goes back to the it's better to stick with the devil that
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, exactly. That is a solution for a lot of these smaller companies. And I would like to see them moving forward really tap into that network and just
Absolutely.
rather than employing a full-time service guy, find somebody who owns a company like yours and contract you and say, hey, we got a guy in your local area. If you buy one of our pieces of equipment, we have a very reliable resource. We support him, and he is there to repair your piece of equipment. So, the next topic I kind of wanted to cover, because that's in everybody's mind this year, is
Hmm.
AI. So
Oh,
AI in manufacturing. What is the reality of AI? What are your thoughts? Because I know the big thing I remember, I don't know, maybe I think it was 6 months or so ago, there was this list that was put out. I think it was made by Microsoft or somebody, and it had the top 40 jobs that were going to be replaced by AI in the next however many years. Did you happen to see that list?
I vaguely remember seeing it and laughing at some of the things, and then other ones going, "Yeah, that doesn't surprise me."
Yeah. Well, pretty close to the top. I think it was top 10 was CNC programmer. So they were the list did say that AI was going to replace CNC programming.
Hmm.
And there was I saw it online. There was quite a few meltdowns. There's a lot of people replying to me on social media saying, "Why even bother with this trade if the job's not even going to exist in however many years?" What are your thoughts around that?
Well, a couple things. One is I think the AI, I'm calling it the AI bubble, is I vaguely remember the dot-com crash at the end of the 90s and into the beginning of the 2000s because the World Wide Web, the internet, was promised to be, all these huge promises about stuff. And then people, were pumping tons of money into it and all this, that, and the other thing. And then it crashed and it crashed hard.
Mhm.
And then it started to build up from there, but nowhere near as fast as what it had been. And now we look where we are with the internet today. And where we are today, it's fulfilling a lot of those promises that were made back in the 90s about what it was going to be, but it took a lot longer than what the investors and the prognosticators and even the business owners at the time said it was going to be. And I kind of think that's where AI is they're pumping all this money into it, and yet you start digging into it. Like I was listening to uh, Saunders and Grimsmo on their podcast a couple days ago. I was listening to it while I was working, and one of the things that they've used AI quite a bit with their businesses and when they've been working on projects. And Saunders pointed out, he says, I have to tap the brakes on it because I was digging into some things and was having, Chat GPT or whatever help me with stuff. And it didn't work the way that I thought it was going to, or the program didn't work right, or it was something to that effect. And he's like, I realized that I have been leaning a little more or a little too heavily on Chat GPT. At least that's what I took away from what he was saying. And so, I'm looking at CNC programming, and it's like AI might end up. Um, I don't think it's going to replace a good programmer. I think what it's going to do is kind of like what automation does for the machinist out in the shop. It's going to reduce or almost eliminate the need uh, for the programmer to do the simple, basic, mundane, monotonous kind of programming jobs. But when it starts getting into the more complex parts, things that you're going to have, stuff that is going to require tribal knowledge. Like, I don't know how you get tribal knowledge from the programmers into an AI model to be able to do those more complex parts. Because you could tell an AI model that, oh, yeah, when you start getting into these thin walls, you're going to have material shifting. So you have to adjust or change your machining strategy to do this stuff. I don't know how you get that information into an AI model where it's usable data. And more importantly than just being usable, how it will consistently produce proper results. That a
Exactly.
lot of that's just experience and knowledge and dare I say even a little bit of just gut intuition for some machinists.
Well, it really is. It's very nuanced. I'm sure there is science behind everything, but
Yes.
never in my machining career. Well, I shouldn't say never, right? I'll always start with basic speeds and feeds or basic principles, but a lot of machining in my career has just been kind of going by your gut. Like you
Yep.
said, it's nuanced. It's, hey, if I recognize if I'm cutting away 45% of this block of material, chances are it's going to spring this direction. So if I have a tolerance I'm trying to hold there, or a flatness call out, I need to release the material before I mill this flat or whatever. There's all kinds of examples that you could come up with. I don't really see how AI is going to solve all those problems. Now, like you said, I think AI is going to minimize some of the monotony. So it's just
Yes.
going to be a tool that good programmers can leverage to make themselves better and faster. And
Exactly.
one thing I always point to, and actually you brought up the .com bubble, so it's the perfect example. I don't know if there's ever been a time in the history of mankind where, yes, technology might eliminate one job, but it almost seems like it creates two in its place.
Yep.
And I really do not foresee, and I could be wrong, but I just, it seems that that is going to likely be a similar outcome in regards to this. Now it's hard to imagine what that's going to be, but like you brought up, the .com bubble is the perfect example. There were people in the 90s. I mean, I was around in the 90s. I couldn't have even possibly imagined the tools and the careers that exist nowadays back in the 90s that
Yep.
only exist because of the internet.
Exactly.
So the AI stuff, I think, is probably just going to be another example of that.
Yeah, I agree. It's interesting. When I was going through trade school, Jeff Fowler, one of my instructors, I'm trying to remember exactly how he phrased it, but I'm going through machining. He's a machinist. He was a manufacturing engineer. And I said that I was thinking after doing machining that I'd go and get a manufacturing engineering degree. And he's like, nah, I wouldn't bother doing that. So much of our manufacturing's been moved overseas. And part of me at the time was like, well, then why am I bothering doing machining? Like, what's the purpose behind it? But now
Yeah.
you fast forward like 15 years, and now all of a sudden, there are a lot of people in high places that are going, hey, wait a minute, we've been kind of crapping on the trades and manufacturing for so many years, and now so many people haven't got into it and we're losing experienced people. And now all of a sudden we're having a harder time finding plumbers and auto mechanics and electricians and machinists. And now we've got to do some major backpedaling and start getting people back into the industries because we need that to support everything that goes on in our world. And so I think how I had a way I was going to tie that into the AI thing, and my poor little choo-choo train of thought has derailed.
Your choo-choo train of thought. That's good.
Yep, yep.
Well, I mean, look at, I mean, I guess I don't know. I was going to try to like get your choo-choo train
It's
back on the rails, but
I think what it is that um as hopeful or as optimistic as some people may be that what we as machinists and manufacturers do can be neatly bottled and reproduced without having to have the human element and everything that goes with the human element. I think as much as and as optimistic as those people might be about it, it ain't going to happen, or if it does eventually happen, it's going to be a long time out before you can completely eliminate experienced programmers and machinists and whatnot.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and
it's-
one thing that really excites me about AI is I think it is going to empower the small shop owners and the little guys that are trying to wear multiple hats,
yep,
because now you can have AI. Yes, if AI can do some of the monotonous programming, you can free up time on the programming end of things.
yep,
And AI
or
can
even
help
even the administrative side. If you
exactly
if you could say,
administrate.
hey, send a bill to this guy or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
that makes it a lot easier for somebody like me or you to go tell your AI agent to do that rather than having to go, crap, I got to sit down and spend 20 minutes and get this put together and sent over to this guy. And I've got all these other things that I'm trying to do.
Exactly. And then the other area I think AI is really going to start empowering people is for quality systems.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, think about all the people that have to sit around and write SOPs, and you
Oh,
can task all that stuff. You can have AI generate you an ISO 9001 quality system. I'm sure you'd have to go in and make
I
some
didn't
tweaks.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I could see that really being an advantage for a shop.
Yeah, exactly.
Now I might have to bounce that idea off a couple of guys I know because
Well, there
that
you go.
that that actually I could see that working pretty well.
Hmm.
Do you see any other things that the AI would be, do you think would be beneficial for?
Well, like you brought up already, that was a great one. The AI agent thing. You can have your AI even maybe going as far as developing quotes. I don't know how that would look or how you. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
some of the AI programming stuff seems like a no brainer for me
Hmm.
as far as quoting, because if you can toss a part in in your workspace and then just kind of rough it, have it set up, in a vise, or if you're turning it on a lathe, say, okay, I'm going to do this operation, then this operation. If you can just get it close enough and then have the AI kind of generate a program and then just base your quote off of, I'm sure it's going to give you a cycle time, and then you can just base your quoting off, I'm sure you'd have to calculate some sort of percentage of buffer to give yourself
Yep.
for those nuanced things like we talked about. But
Yeah.
there's no reason you can't use AI in the future to streamline quoting process as well.
No, no, I don't think so. Because it could give you some basics. And the other thing that it could do is if, say, your material suppliers also have AI agents or whatever, you could have it to where your system is able to reach out to their system and to be able to go, hey, what does materials in this size, what does that look like for price, availability, and whatnot? And you wouldn't have to do that. And when you do the quoting or whatever, it could come back and go, hey, this is what these guys have this material. This is what you're looking at for approximate price and availability, for just basic kind of quoting stuff that way. That I could see that being a thing too.
Yeah, I mean, there is all kinds of avenues, and like I started this last little segment of this AI conversation, I think as far as tools in the small shop owner's pocket, they are going to have some of the best opportunities to thrive that they have ever had.
Which would be fantastic.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you got any other notes on AI before we move on?
Um, Not really. It's something that I've wanted to dig into a little more and learn more about. Because coming from my side of the industry doing service stuff, I think it'd be awesome to have like my whole, you know, reference library put into some kind of an AI model or agent that I could spitball off of. But I don't know. It's
So I had this thought the other day. There are people, and I don't know exactly what this process looks like. Basically, somehow they will use an AI platform and build their own personal agent to reply the way they would reply, so to speak.
that's been one that's been interesting to me.
So what if I was having the thought the other day? So let's just use applications, for example. But
Yes.
I mean, I'm sure you could do service, anything. What if you found whatever the best suited AI platform for that is, and you just start uploading service manuals into it,
Hmm.
operations manuals, programming manuals for your machine. And then you get it to categorize everything for you. You know, you say, okay, these are Haas manuals, and then you build out your own AI agent that can just help you in the field and say, hey, pull up an electrical drawing that is for a 1999
Oz
VF3.
VF2 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you could almost create like an applications engineer or a service tech assistant. Like obviously you still have to be there to do the work, utilizing an AI platform.
Yep.
So I personally think it would be wise if each builder would start building those out and then license them back to the distributors.
Yeah.
So just start uploading all their documents into an AI agent. You know,
Yep.
so whether it's Haas, DMG Mori, right? And so then all the distributors or whoever's out in the field has access to that AI agent. And then rather than all this tribal knowledge and trying to call people and figure things out, it has a way higher likelihood of getting you an answer quickly.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Quick pit stop. If you're enjoying the show, hit subscribe and drop a rating. It helps more machinists and makers find us. Tell a friend. Tell your crew. Tell the guy running the second shift. Follow me along on social media at machine underscore tool underscore maniac for thoughts, updates, and some funny memes. We're growing this community with more guests, more value, and more stories that push people to create. So if you've got a niche product getting manufactured or a shop with a cool story, email me at machinetoolmaniac@gmail.com or check out the website machinetoolmaniac.com for merch. All right, back to the episode. I wanted to talk about kind of the influencer realm over the last year. We've had some big shakeups.
Oh yeah.
Probably one of the biggest shakeups that we saw was Titans of CNC moving away from DN Solutions and becoming their own distributor. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I don't know. Um, because okay, so I got to back up a little here in that when I first saw Titans videos, I was pretty annoyed with them
Mm-hmm.
because in my brain it's like, what is this? Like, why are you doing this? And it took me a little while to realize that I am not the target audience. Machinists, like experienced machinists, are not the target audience for Titan and his crew.
Mm-hmm.
It's he was trying to get young guys or people that aren't in our industry interested in our industry,
Yeah.
right? And so I went, okay, now that I can watch these videos, now understanding that I'm not the target audience, so it might not appeal to me in the same way as it appeals to someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Titan at the 2018 IMTS. And the guy that I saw or that I see on videos and the guy that I met in person are not quite the same person. Does that make sense? Like,
It absolutely makes sense because you learn real quick, and I've learned this because I'm trying to become somewhat of an influencer, at least enough that I can market for the podcast and just kind of just as an authority in the space. And if you just go on social media and kind of come across boring and plain,
kind of like me.
no, man, you're great. Um, you you have to stand out. You have to do something that stands out,
Yes.
and so that is the game that Titan plays. And
Yep.
I think a lot of people that are so bothered by him and what he does, and obviously it's more than just him at this point.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. They're constantly chasing people that are, I mean, that's what social media is. It's everybody that's out there looking for a dopamine hit, and
Yep.
he's just trying to get in there and make an impression
Exactly.
before they scroll on.
Yep.
And he's done so quite successfully.
Absolutely.
Now, I think what leaves a bad taste in a lot of folks' mouths is obviously he's bounced around to,
Yep.
he's it's I think he started with Tormach, and so he went from Tormach to Haas, and
It
then
was originally he had Haas machines. When he started out in the influencer sphere, he had Haas machines, and that was one of the things I liked about him. Now, I don't know if Haas was paying him or sponsoring him or whatever when he first started making content and getting famous with it. But one of the things I loved about those videos is he had Haas, and then he got like a DMU 50, and he got a Makino like A81NX horizontal, and he had several different brands of machines that he was showing people how hard you can push these machines and what you can do here and here. And like it was fun to watch.
uh-huh.
And it didn't seem like he was biased one way or the other on the machines.
Yeah.
And then I think it was about 6 months after he got the Makino in, all of a sudden, all of those like the videos changed and he wasn't showing machines or he was showing old footage and he was talking about big changes that were happening. And then it was Doosan or DN
Yeah.
Solutions and everything was DN Solutions in the shop.
Hmm.
And then he comes out and he said, then it was announced that he had signed a partnership deal or whatever with DN Solutions. And I felt a little betrayed by that because it's like, come on, man, now you're, taking the bag from one company and kind of pushing their stuff. And now I don't know exactly what to trust that you're saying is actually true versus just trying to hype up your partner in machine building,
Yeah.
right? And I'll be honest, if I was in the position he was in and somebody dangled a big fat bag in front of me for
Exactly.
money and then was willing to replace all the machines in my shop and put brand new shiny ones on there, I'm taking the bag, man. Like as much as I would like to say, oh no, I'd never do that. I've got principles, I've got integrity here. I'm not going to do that. That would be a extremely hard position to be in to say no, you know?
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that the machine that he's wrong for doing that. That's just the choices that he's made.
Hmm.
And DN Solutions, I don't know what kind of a partner they were. I do know their machines and they make some killer machines.
Yeah.
And same with YCM. Like YCM, uh, killer machines again.
Hmm.
And the MCO stuff, good machines. Like I don't quite get the whole distribution thing. Um, it's weird because for so long our industry, the distribution agreements have had protected areas or protected territories. And now that Titan is selling like the YCMs and I guess Matsura's now too. It's like where are you like what territory are you selling these machines? Is it just in Texas or like where who can call you and get quoting on machines and how does that not like totally mess with the rest of the distribution network or whatever? And so I'm interested to see what kind of an effect this has on our industry.
Well, and companies like Emco
Uh-huh.
and YCM and what else? He's got that Sile. Those I
Sile doesn't really have a network.
Yeah, I understand those ones because those are all smaller machine tool. At least here, they don't. None
Yeah.
of those have a large presence. But
Yeah.
Matsura is an interesting one to me because
Yeah.
if he starts, going around the country selling Matsuras, there's a lot of pretty big name distributors that
Pro.
currently carry Matsura. So what
Oh
does
yeah,
that mean for them? So
exactly.
so do we
And
take?
that's where I'm kind of scratching my head going like Selway, they've got Matsura out on like California, Nevada, on the West Coast, and then here into Utah. Productivity has them in Colorado, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, Nebraska. Like they've got them covered there. Um, so yeah, it's like what does that mean to them when if Titan is able to sell these machines in those territories?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure.
And then it goes back to what you were talking about earlier about distributors, or I mean, about service. It's like, well, if Titan sells a machine in, let's say he is able to sell a Matsura here in Utah. Well, how does that work then if the machine needs service or even just to be installed? Does he work with Selway here in Utah, or is he like completely on his own and have to do like I don't know what that looks like.
Yeah. Well, and the service, like we've already spoke, the service component is critical.
Yep.
It's a lot more than just selling a machine. You have to be able to support it.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on seeing the change over at Titan?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I see why he's doing what he's doing. I think in terms of building a long-term thing, right? And right now he's the guy that's kind of at the top in the CNC world, love him or hate him. But there's always somebody in some way that folks get dethroned, right? We see there's big name influencers that were around, and 10 years
The
ago that we if somebody brought up their name, you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy." Um, so I think in terms of trying to make long lasting, long term moves, I I think as far as creating his own distribution network, it's probably a pretty good idea. I and obviously I work for another distributor that would be a competitor. So
exactly.
I'm not that I'm not trying to encourage anything, but whatever. Everybody's out to survive and have their place in the world. So I think what he's doing is a pretty good idea. It'll just
Yeah.
be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think the hype man side of it is definitely a good thing. Um, I know when I was working for Herco, me and a couple of some of the other sales guys were talking. It's like, man, if we could get somebody like Titan to promote the Herco stuff the way he's been promoting Doosan or whatever, it's like that would be a killer way to be able to get visibility in the industry, especially for smaller quote unquote boutique type machines
Yeah.
or builders.
Well, I know I made some people angry when I said this, but I did a TikTok or an Instagram video about how Titan really did like we say, love him or hate him, he really turned Doosan into a first tier machine tool company. Because,
Yep.
but at least in the regions I grew up in,
Yeah.
Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, the Mountain West states, yeah, you saw Doosan's here and there, but it never held the same clout as a Morisiki or
Yep.
or even a
And it didn't
Haas.
have the coverage that the Haas did.
Exactly. Like it just when people brought up if somebody said a CNC machine, it wasn't one of the first three or four that came into your mind. And
Yep.
that's just the reality of what it was. And when he signed on with them, that changed. That changed
Yep.
here. And I I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. So
Agreed. Agreed.
moving on to other influencers, what are your thoughts about and it's I don't even know if it's fair to call it social media anymore. I mean, we still call it social media because that's how we know it, but
Hmm.
um, so platforms like TikTok and Instagram and kind of moving away from LinkedIn. Uh, I don't really have a lot of experience on LinkedIn, and I feel like LinkedIn's everybody just kind of patting themselves on the back. I could be a little judgmental there, but um,
Um, I think it's harder to be your genuine self in some ways on LinkedIn. And because some people that are their genuine selves on there, it seems like they get either the haters that are like, this is a professional business platform. You need to put this crap over on Facebook and Instagram and not here.
yeah,
Those kind of curmudgeons. You either end up with that or um, you don't end up with a lot of traction because of the way their algorithm, I hate to use the word because it's so overused, but that's what it is. But the way that the Instagram, or I mean the LinkedIn algorithm promotes content, and and so I don't know. It's a little challenging that way.
yeah. I
But
mean, I'm excited, and I don't. Maybe it's always been there, and I'm just paying attention to it more now because I'm a part of it. But I am excited about a lot of the moves that we see on TikTok and Instagram and even Facebook and YouTube Shorts. Or not just the YouTube Shorts, but obviously the YouTube videos, the even the long form YouTube videos have always done well in the machining space because a lot of people are machinists. They like getting on there and watching tutorials and watching, hey, how did this person tackle this project? Which it's difficult to get a full or the scope of a full project in a very short TikTok or Instagram reel. Uh, but I'm really excited. And there's been a lot of characters that we've kind of seen pop up this past year. And I mean, one I want to give a lot of credit to is that CNC repairman. That guy, Aaron,
oh
he's a
yeah,
good dude.
Aaron, I love what he's doing, putting more content out there. He's
Yeah.
really I talked to him here a few weeks ago about it, and he spent a lot of time and effort earlier this year in shooting just video content with his videographer and stuff, trying to figure out how to put like good repair information out there for
Mm-hmm.
people. And just he's I think I said this in a previous a previous episode, but he is genuinely one of the best human beings that I know. Like he is just a genuinely good guy, and his his mentality that I've seen is how do I contribute, or what can I put out there to make our industry better? And obviously he's going to try and make a little bit of money with that as well, like the parts, doing all the replacement parts and stuff for machines. But his whole attitude is, how do I make this better for people? How do I make people's lives better through what I do?
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the ways that he's trying to do it, and especially to get more advertising out there, is to he's been putting more content out on YouTube and Instagram, and I think he's been doing a great job with it.
Yeah, yeah, he's done really well. And I mean, there's so many examples of great influencers. I actually should, I want to give credit to Luke that he's got that page Crusader. Do you follow that page at all? Crusader Machining.
I'd have to look. It sounds familiar.
I mean, he's recently kind of started doing some stuff with practical machinists. So, but
Uh-huh.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's a good dude. I mean, there's so many good ones. I've chatted with Rebecca and
Wolfinger.
yeah, Rebecca Wolfinger, and just a lot of good characters that I've had interactions with, and I hope to have more interactions with in the future.
Yep. And who's the other guy? He just left MTD CNC. Tony
Oh,
Gunn.
yeah, Tony Gunn departed MTD. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another dude that I've met him. I got to meet him and yeah, just genuinely good dude and smart when it comes to machines and doing stuff. I think that's one of the things that, well, I I think the influencers that are doing the best in this industry are guys that have actually been there and done that on the machines. They've made the parts. They know the challenges that all of the machinists and stuff face on a day-to-day basis, and they can relate with them and are genuine. I think that's the big one that's been selling or not selling. I don't want it. That's been connecting with people
Yeah, that's a good way to
the
put it.
best are the guys that you can tell are genuinely excited about this stuff.
And I really think all the manufacturers, whether it's a machine tool manufacturer, a work holding manufacturer, a tooling manufacturer, any manufacturer in this space really needs to pay attention to the content creators and the guys, the good, genuine ones
Yep.
that, like you just described, that have experience and are out there just trying to provide value to everybody else and lean into them because making a fancy video of a fly around of a CNC machine with it exploding apart and then coming back together, it doesn't really do that much these
It
days.
doesn't connect that way.
No, no, we don't need to see some fancy 3D exploded model of your machine, and that they're kind of all guilty of it. Hawes has probably been the best at it
Oh,
at
when it
marketing.
comes to the marketing game of machine tools, they've got that dialed.
Yeah.
Other than the 35 freaking emails every day marketing their stuff. That's my one complaint. Don't ever put your email address in with Haas. You'll get inundated with stuff.
Yeah, that's like Keyence, dude. They have
Yes,
that
that's another
reputation.
one that just hammers you.
I
It's like,
like
come
Keyence
on.
stuff, but yeah, if they get your phone number, your contact info, they'll hunt you down.
Oh yeah, yeah. Their marketing team is like a bunch of bloodhounds, man.
So obviously 2025 has been a bit of a rough year. It's just felt kind of stagnant.
Yep,
But I definitely think it's worth talking about some industries that you and I think thrived this year.
yep,
And one of the industries that I just continues to amaze me, man. I swear it's the EDC community. So the
yep.
everyday carry community. If you're not familiar with what EDC is, most of the time it's pocket knives and fancy pens and just companies that make high quality, really nice niche products.
Yes.
And there's this whole community of people who just like to spend money on say a really nice pocket knife.
Yep.
And um probably the biggest one that stood out to me this year is Montana Knife Company. I don't know if you're familiar with Montana Knife Company.
Yes. I've been looking at some of their stuff.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I they are just exploding this year, and it just
Yep.
blows my mind. I, just when you think there's enough knife companies out there, another one comes out of the woodwork, and the support for these knife companies just always impresses me.
Well, and I think it's because people realize that those are people who are genuinely passionate about the product that they're making. It's like Grimsmo with Grimsmo knives.
Oh yeah.
Like I listen to him on his podcast or I watch him on his videos on YouTube when he posts them, and the dude loves what he does. He loves
Mhm.
the product. I mean, I I don't think I have seen a guy. I didn't realize you could be that, mm, dare I say, anal retentive about your own product. And what I mean is like I listened to him talk about the process of how they make their blades, how they make the Norseman, how they make the Fiel. And he's talking like the dude bought a freaking Kern
Yeah,
micro HD for machining his knife blades.
yeah.
If that isn't like trying to kill a mosquito with a howitzer, I don't know what is. But the reason that he got it and the reason that he does that is because he wants the consistency from blade to blade to be, he wants his product as close to perfect as possible and and to be repeatable that way. And so it's cool seeing how passionate he is and how much he loves that. And I think that's how the guys at Montana Knife Company are too. They're they are passionate about their product
Mhm.
and people connect with that
Yeah. And
because it's
I
not just, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I was just gonna say, like, there's there are so many. I'm not trying to ignore all the other ones. It's just
Exactly.
Montana Knife Cut because he just built that whole new building and he's been pretty active on social media. So, but that's just an example of one that just impresses me for sure.
Yep.
So it's also an example because there's a lot of people out there that are interested in pursuing a passion and
Yes.
making some product. But I think a big hangup for a lot of them is, here I'm going to spend all this time making this and I won't be able to sell it because
Yes.
who's going to buy? I mean, obviously, it costs a lot more to manufacture something in the United States for obvious reasons.
Yep.
And boutique items cost even more because you got a lot of man hours into making six, six unique pocket knives or whatever. So a lot of people become fearful because they say, well, why I don't want to spend all this time doing this because I'm not going to be able to sell it. But there is a space and the EDC community shows us that people are willing to buy into nice stuff. I mean, you can buy a
Yep.
pocket knife for $20 at Walmart.
Yep.
And there's still people out there supporting these knife manufacturers. I mean, I've seen high end single blade razors. I've
Yep.
seen, I've kind of fooled around with, you know, a little tobacco pipe project that I'm working on just for fun, just to show people that you can do this kind of stuff. And just
Yep.
if you have a passion into something or you want to just play around and make something with pride, do it.
Yep.
Do it. So, any other thoughts on the the EDC community?
I hope that going into 2026, the people that are toying with those ideas of trying to start making something like that, I hope they do it.
I agree.
Like it's speaking from my own experience, I'm finding that um, I'm kind of autistic when it comes to machines, in that I'll work on them all day, and then when I go home, that's what I watch videos on YouTube about or I'm reading about, and it's making me a little lopsided. And so I'm finding I have a growing need to have a creative outlet of some sort.
Yeah.
And not just my creative outlet in machines, but I need a creative outlet that is apart and away from machines.
Hmm.
And so I'm starting to get back into doing some woodworking. And like my wife and I have been bouncing ideas on how we want to redo some old furniture that we've got. And so it's like I think I specialization is for insects.
Hmm.
And so I think that people, myself included, need to have those outlets and passions that we can go and do to do just for the joy of doing it. And if we can, make something and people are interested in buying it and we can turn it into a little side hustle or even be fortunate enough to make it a full-time gig, do it.
Yeah.
It'll be a little scary, but it also is really cool to do.
Yeah. I support that completely. And that's part of my mission is to inspire people to and to show them some of the tools if they are ready to take that leap and make that pocket knife or whatever
Or make
item.
the pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly, man.
So another industry that I think thrived in 2025 is a lot of these defense startups. So I mean,
Yes,
obviously you have, and they're probably not so much of a startup anymore, but you have like Androl Industries and
that's a
um,
terrifying company.
I think all these defense startups are kind of terrifying because most of them are based off of small scale autonomous
Oh yeah.
technology for fighting warfare,
Yep.
and we've seen, I mean, you've seen that Ukraine has kind of been the test bed for a lot of this stuff.
Dude,
As
drone
frightening as it
warfare
is,
is frightening.
yeah, it's scary.
Between that and then the ones that are collecting all the data and information about people and putting together like psychological profiles on people. It's like, I don't feel very good about that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But it seems like this past year that those industries have not really struggled.
No, even the big boys, Northrop Grumman, uh, in the last year, I've seen them building three huge facilities near one of my customers. And I don't know what they're building, but whatever it is, it's big, like
Yeah,
really big.
yeah, I have a little bit of experience in that department.
Yep.
Um, so the next one is obviously we've already talked about AI, but there's industries that are adjacent or support structure for AI, most
Hmm.
notably the energy sector.
Yes.
And energy is ramping up like crazy already. So, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
tariffs aside, whatever's happening with the economy, anybody who's in the energy field trying to, come up with some revolutionary new way of producing energy or,
Or
I
even
mean,
just making parts for the energy industry.
exactly. And especially in these parts of the country, we're pretty close
Yep.
to Los Alamos down in New Mexico, and there's a lot of support structure at that lab, and
Yep.
then Idaho has a lab as well. So there's
Yep.
a lot of nuclear
And then
research support going on in this region of the country.
oh yeah, and then I guess it's an SMR manufacturer, a small modular reactor manufacturer. It was announced a few weeks ago that they're gonna build a facility in Brigham City
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
not only build a small modular reactor there, to produce power, but they're going to start producing parts to build SMRs up there as
Hmm.
well, which I think gives great opportunity not only for welding and fabrication shops, but for machine shops as well to be able to support that.
I actually saw an article, and I need to do some more research. Kemmerer?
Kemmerer, Wyoming. Yep.
Yeah, I saw that there's some energy project going in there.
Yeah. And I know that Bill Gates has another, uh, there was another place over in Wyoming that he was supposed to be, one of his other companies is supposed to be firing up and building a nuclear plant or something out there as well.
Hmm. Well, it'll be interesting to see how all that continues to play out, but that is
Absolutely.
definitely an industry that has thrived, as well as
Yep.
any chip manufacturing, or
That's
that
been a huge one
that all
that's
takes
been doing.
CNC machines. A lot of people don't realize that, but CNC machines are critical for
Yep.
manufacturing chips.
Yep. It's like I've said before, and for Taiwan, you don't become the country that produces the most leading edge and technologically complex microchips. You don't become the one that supplies that stuff to the rest of the world without having a pretty top-notch machine tool industry supporting you.
Taiwan supplies has probably been the globe's one of the globe's top suppliers of chips
Long time.
for quite a while now. Just to close out, I guess this is the end of 2025. I want to thank anybody who's taken the time to listen to this podcast this year. We really appreciate you. Continue to tell your friends. Uh, I want to thank you personally, Will. You've been on, I don't know, like 5 episodes now.
I think
So
so. People are
you're
really going to get sick of hearing me.
you're a regular, dude. I love it when you're on.
Well,
So
thank you.
I really appreciate you being a part of this. So from the bottom of my
And
heart.
I
Well,
appreciate you having me on, and uh, I really value the time and effort that you're putting into this, and how you're trying to help so many people grow and getting the word out there on them. And so I appreciate that, and I appreciate your friendship, man.
yeah, I
Like you're
appreciate yours
you're a
too.
genuinely good dude, and I sure like just sitting and BSing about stuff with you, and I just I think a lot of you, man. So thanks for being here and doing this stuff.
I think a lot of you too, Will, and I really appreciate you. And we're going to have a lot more conversations into 2026. So
I look
with
forward
that,
to it.
we're going to close out 2025. Thank you for joining the Machine Tool Maniacs. Say goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Have a happy new year.
Happy New Year.